Right. Women these days, and I don't want you to take this bad, but a lot of women these days, they tend to be a little self-centered and thinking they're the perfect woman.
Right.
So when they get left, they don't understand why. And, it comes from the social media world where we're always trying to become the perfect woman for everyone to see on display. But inside, we got some real issues that we're not dealing with when you turn the cameras off.
Karen, what do you guys think about movie reviews? We were thinking about doing some movie reviews because all we do is watch movies. Because all we do is watch movies and we really like it. But I've always wanted to be, like, secretly, I've always wanted to be a movie critic, a film critic.
Cisco and Ebert.
I always wanted to do that. I feel like I would be really good at it. I think I would be really good. We were thinking about, like, doing, like, a little something. I don't know, just trying it out.
The movies on Netflix.
It's one of those things where even if we do it, like a little movie review on, channel, I wouldn't care if one person watched. Right. I would love to do that. Tell us what you think about movie reviews. Are you guys interested in that? Do you guys watch movies? Let us know. All right, this is from Denise. You two are like my friends in my head. You ever hear people like that? I do ever. Okay, anyways, she says, the man I was with recently broke up with me. Uh-oh. I'm not sure what I did that made him want to break up, but here I am, 35 and single again. Not a good feeling. I really thought this was the one. I watched a few of your videos, and I think one of you said you have also been in a situation where your boyfriend broke up with you. At this point in my life, I feel like I'm going to have to settle with the next guy because of my age. Do you all think that you can find happiness in settling? That's interesting. So it was me that talked about that. I think I mentioned that before in a video. It was a comment we got, and I was giving my own personal experience. But yeah, so yeah, I think I was around your age when this actually happened, where my ex actually broke up with me. I don't know if it's cold feet, he just moved on, whatever it is, he exited the scene, over and done with. So I feel where you're coming from. Like, first of all, sorry that happened, because that's unfortunate, like, but I think that everything happens for a reason. It isn't a good feeling. It isn't a good feeling to get broken up with. I think women take it a little bit differently than men when men get broke up with. So women, it kind of is like a little bit of a different shot to your ego. It's different. You're 35, so I think what you're feeling is probably around what I'm feeling, what I was feeling at the time, is that was the time that I was actively going to be getting married. We were talking about having children. We were, he didn't have kids and I don't have kids. And we were going to be, talking about homes and all this. I was going to be moving. It was a whole situation. And it was exciting because that was the next phase of my life. That age, that is kind of like the next phase of your life is happening finally, yay. And then when this happens, it's like, oh no, like I'm now in that, women have a fertility window. So that starts to play in our heads. When you look at your relationships, I always feel like things don't just happen. Now, I think it's rare if it just, boom, done, gone, person just left and, you never saw them again. I think that there's always things in relationships where it was there, you just didn't see it for some reason. There was something that wasn't quite right if you really think back on it. You're in your feelings now. But if you think back on your whole relationship as a whole, you'll probably see little red flags you weren't picking up then, and this is what it kind of escalated to. Again, that's a possibility. It happens all the time. People, I didn't know what's going to happen out of nowhere. He just broke up with me, or she just broke with me. Like, sometimes it's not out of nowhere. A lot of times it's not. I knew.
Maybe you liked him more than he liked you.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think women should like a man more.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that it should be the other way around. Most men think that too. That men should like. Men are hunters. Yeah. And if they're not hunting you, and they're not coming after you, that means you're doing it to him. Yeah. True. And do we think that you should do we think that settling? Do you think you find happiness in settling?
Eventually, we also want to be in a relationship. Right. But be careful about manipulating the situation. Every woman that I know in high school that got married right out of high school or got married in their 20s are all going on second and third marriages.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So you don't really miss out on anything.
True.
You know what I'm saying? I could say a lot of things. Like, I could say, oh, I wish I would have did this, whatever. But then I look at all of my friends, the ones that got married right out of high school, like 18. And ones that went to college and then got married, all of them are divorced. All of them. They're all divorced and they all married other people. Some are going third marriages.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we think that we have to manipulate a situation so we can get things going. But you got to be careful about that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you will find yourself in a position and you'll hate it. And you'll think, I should have just let...
Why did I rush it?
Why did I do that?
Why did I rush the situation?
Because, you know, I like relationships, but I'm not going to be someone that just has one no matter what.
That's the conclusion. You know, it's funny because that's the conclusion I came to. So I know that you were, you know, because I was telling you I'm the one that got broken up with. And I think that there's a point where you do kind of feel like, I'm not going to just be in a relationship just to be in one either. That's not a thing. You know, I don't care how old I am. You know what I mean? I really don't care. I'm not going to be unhappy with somebody just to say that I'm with somebody. Now, this person that I was with actually came back. And I didn't take him back, but he wanted to come back and then wanted to right all the wrongs and start over and all this stuff. But I had already mentally, you know, and just really emotionally kind of just was done. You know, wished him well, but I really was kind of over it. So I just felt like I wanted to move forward. But, you know, there's a lot of women that you would be like, oh my God, he came back. You know, I could maybe have my kids now, my family, my home. You know, it's all coming back. It's all happening again. And it's like you could take a step back for a minute because, you know, he may be genuine, it may work out. There's been a situation where many have come back and it's worked out perfectly fine. They're married for years. And that goes without saying. But I think that you can't just do things because you're afraid of age. And this is what happens. This is why people pick the wrong people or stay with the wrong people. But I should say that. Why they stay with the wrong people because they're on a timeline. They're trying to beat this timeline, right? The society timeline. You know, there's a timeline, but a physical one that women have. But there's also this really weird society timeline where it says you have to be graduated from college at a certain age. You have to, you know, be, engaged when you're, 25. And then you have to be married by 30. You have to have your career by this. You know, there's these timelines that society puts on you and that you kind of just take on, you know, and not everybody's life is the same.
I was just telling Danielle earlier, those timelines are changing. Girls are having their babies now after 30.
It's true.
You know, a lot more abortions. People can't afford to have mortgages anymore. Kids are coming out of college with $80,000 in debt and no jobs to pay that down. They're afraid to get mortgages and start families.
Afraid to get married.
Women are walking around here acting like men and over-sexualizing themselves at the same rate men are becoming more feminized and becoming kind of worthless on that end. You know what I mean? Like they're not men. You know what I mean? And women aren't acting like women. So we're in a different time right now. And I do think it's the cause of all these divorces and breakups because people don't know their identities anymore. Yeah. We're all trying to be the same. And I do think that is part of the reason. Like I said, I mean, most of the girls I went to, almost all of the girls that I have on Facebook that have gotten married right out of high school, they're all divorced. They're all divorced. All of them. You know what I mean? The most they got out of a relationship with their kids. That's it. But they can't stand their husbands. Yeah. They can't stand their ex-husbands. They, you know what I mean? They don't really like them very much. You know what I mean? And the same thing. I know all the men that that I knew growing up. Most of them divorced. Most of them with kids outside, you know, outside of marriage. I mean, Danielle had a relation with a guy who was really had standards. And he was all, he liked Danielle. She didn't have kids. He didn't have kids. And he was all, I want to get married. I want my wife to have this. He ended up being a baby daddy. And he ended up being after all of that. He ended up becoming. Yeah, he was like, oh no, actually no, outside, and then now he's in a situation where he's a baby daddy. He's a baby. You know what I'm saying? We are all confused.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing, is we're all kind of confused of where we belong now, you know. So
I feel like
I'm not going to settle for someone I don't like.
That's
I
the
don't
thing.
care what age I am. I'm never going to do that, because I'm someone who won't even have lunch with you if I think you're going to annoy me.
100.
So I'm definitely not going to spend a lifetime with you if I think that we aren't going to mesh well together. Because I don't think that two people in a relationship, you do need to be going the same way, but I don't think you need to move the same way. I think that two people bring in different energies so that it works. There's a reason why there is a certain type of man and he attracts a certain type of woman. You know, the energies have to work. But I do think that a lot of people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And the problem is that there's nothing that makes you shine.
Yeah, if you guys are both doing the same.
And it may have been why you left.
You know, I will say though that when because you're mentioning your age, so you're already 35 now. If you look at this in a different perspective here. You're already 35, okay? Now you're now single again, as you said, okay? So why would you settle now? Like, this is how I think. Like, okay, so I'm single at 44, right? So why would I settle now? Like, what would be the point? I mean, eventually I'd settle. I mean, settle for something you don't want. So I feel like at this point, I might as well just wait for somebody that I like and likes me, and we're good companions. I mean, why rush it just because I'm, 40? Why now? Why rush it? And I get that you're, I know it's probably the kids thing is what really freaks women out. I understand.
Yeah, but if you get a divorce and you're a single mom,
then
so
what?
What's the point? You know what I mean? It's just like, look, sometimes when you're in bad relationships, when they leave, they just show you what you don't really want anymore. My last relationship, he really ticked off a lot of, he checked off a lot of boxes for me. He was 6'4". He used to be an athlete. He owned a business. He owned a home. He was all those things. I couldn't wait to break up with him. And now I'm starting to think, sometimes I'll go on a date and think, 5'11" wouldn't be so bad. A man who just works hard doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah. You said you really thought he was the one. So I'm assuming he checked boxes.
No,
he probably checked boxes.
He did check boxes, but I can tell you that, you liked the guy that you were. I couldn't wait to leave. So for me, it was like, he checked off all the physical boxes. Yeah. He's good looking. He was older than me. He owned a company. He owned a home. He had good social standing. And I literally sometimes would be with him and think, a guy who worked a regular job wouldn't be so bad. Or a guy that was 5'11" wouldn't be so bad.
Well, the guy that
I can talk to would be better than this right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes the boxes that people check off, we think is more important. Yeah. But really, there's only about 5 things that people need to be in your life. It's not like 20 or 30 or all those things that women like to do. It's really not. It's like having integrity, being a man, standing up for what you believe in. Things like that. Holding a job, doing what you say you're going to do. Those things, looks come in. But let's just keep it real. Men really don't have to be the hottest thing in the world to get a woman. It's mostly their inner qualities that matter. It's different for women because our outer qualities actually, I think, trump our inner qualities, because there's not a lot of men that are going to date a woman they find unattractive but have great qualities on the inside. They're just not. Men are mostly superficial in that situation. But women generally, for men, it's inner qualities. You know what I mean? And then looks come.
Right.
After that. But, yeah. Like I'm saying, I dated one of those guys that every woman would date.
Yeah,
really tall,
I
dark,
really thought,
handsome.
Yeah, I really thought the guy that I was with, I thought that he was the one too. I was like you. I thought, he's the one. And I think what happened is that I was looking at, that stage in relationships where you're in that kind of lovey-dovey stage, and it's a little bit rose-colored glasses. You're kind of feeling a little smoky, and you're in this kind of daze of, wow, I'm really in love with this person, right? And sometimes when you get to that stage, when you're in that stage, sometimes you don't look at things you probably should have looked at. So I think that once you get out your feelings for a minute, because you're going to go through your process, right? But you're going to have to really replay and review that relationship and what there may have been some things there you just didn't see, and maybe the breakup was probably something that should have happened anyway. You'll probably see that. You know, because I did. I was like, well, you know, now that I'm sitting here thinking about this was strange about this person. Why did I behave that way? Not just him. Why was I, you know, okay with some of this stuff?
And I do think on some level that was a masculine part of me. I picked him on my visual qualities, everything he was on the outside. You know, men generally do that. You know what I mean? And so I did that, and I didn't go in the inside and think, what do I need? And what do I need?
Yeah.
Not the things that I want to visually look at and how he represents me. You know what I mean? But what do I actually need on a day-to-day basis? And he couldn't fulfill that. He wanted to be with me, but he just wasn't the guy that was fulfilling things for me. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't fulfilling the things that I need as a woman, and I never even thought of that when I was picking him.
Yeah.
I was looking at him on his outer qualities, and I got all the outer qualities, and then he just wasn't what I needed as a woman.
You don't see that, but see, when you're trying to be in a relationship, see, when you're trying to be in a relationship, you're trying to make things work or whatever. You just don't. You choose not to see some things. You know what I mean? And you said, what did I do to get? What did you say? You said, what did I? You said, I'm not sure what I did that made him want to break up. But here I am, 35, and still single. So. This is the part where a lot of people would disagree with this. I think we said this before and we got in comments, or I know I've said it before and I got in comments where people don't always agree with this. But when you say, I don't know what I did to make them break up, well, it may not be something you did, but there's something you do know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think that people just don't know why this is happening. You know what I mean? Like, why is it going wrong? There's something there that you're just not looking at. You'll look at it later, but you know, you're not looking at it. So there, you know, just maybe for the next relationship.
Yeah. And women these days,
be mindful of your behavior.
Right. Women these days, and I don't want you to take this bad, but a lot of women these days, they tend to be a little self-centered and thinking they're the perfect woman.
Yeah,
so when they get left, they don't understand why. And you know, it comes from the social media world where we're always trying to become the perfect woman for everyone to see on display. But inside, we got some real issues that we're not dealing with when you turn the cameras off. And so, I do think that sometimes if you didn't see, because I don't look, I mean, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't think anybody doesn't know why you gotta have some reason.
You have to know.
There is no relationship that you just, left.
That's what I mean.
And he just bounced on you and you just didn't know exactly why he did that. There had to be something that you just didn't want to see, that you chose not to see. And because you don't want to maybe pick out your own flaws, you want to make it seem like, I
have no idea.
He left this good woman. Or maybe he left a woman that just wasn't compatible for him. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, maybe. It just means that you weren't for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's easy to internalize that because if someone leaves you, you can feel like you're not good enough.
Yeah, especially women. Women already have this emotion. We're always filled with emotion anyways. So when something like this happened, we put that in the tragic category. Like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Again, ego crushed, And so I get it, but yeah, there's something. I'm telling you, there's something.
We're not set up to get dumped like that. I'm against women proposing and asking men out on dates and all of that, because I think that women really aren't set up to get turned down like that. Men are much stronger in that area. It doesn't mean they don't get hurt in that area, but their ego and their the way that they're psychologically they're better with disappointment. I think. When it comes to things
they're more hardened than we are. So
they're more logical.
Yeah.
So for them, they go into, I believe that even if they get their heart broken, they actually go into logic.
So when this guy tried to come back to me, I had already, I figured out what happened there. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm trying to tell you. There's something there because once I got over my feeling, like I got out of my feelings for a minute, when I figured out what the problem is, what was with him and I, it did make it like a much more easy because I was able to say, okay, well, this is what I did wrong in the situation. I wasn't paying attention to X, Y, and Z. So he was never the one for me. I was just probably mostly like you and just seeing my age, you know what I mean? And being excited that next stage is about to happen, and, kids and all that is about to happen. And when you're trying to beat a clock, I'm trying to tell you, when you're trying to beat the society clock, you're going to live your life chasing, just constantly trying to chase the next thing to make sure you're keeping up with everything that, with your age, what you're supposed to be doing for your age. And I don't know. I would never, obviously having children a bit younger is important. Getting married younger is important. Having the career of your dreams is, but that's not everyone's path. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not everyone's path. And I realized that it's just not my path. I went on to, date really, really nice men after that. And it actually helped me, after that relationship, when I started dating again, it did help me feel, understand men a little bit better. The men I were dating were much better than that guy. And then it made me realize who he was. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. You can learn something from this.
But also don't get too desperate because, the whole reason, like a lot of people are fine being 35 or 40 and not being married, still not found the one. Some people are fine with that because they're not trying to beat a clock and they just realize let nature take its course. They're sort of open like that. And then there's some people who just can't stand that. You know what I mean?
You need to be with somebody.
And it might be the reason that this relationship ended, might be the reason why you are 35, because you don't look at things in your other relationships that led you to being 35 and being at this point in your life without someone. Because sometimes we don't want to look at ourselves. Like I was trying to say, there might be something that you're not seeing within yourself that might be turning someone off. And that's why he left. It's not always them.
And that's the thing, is that you always want it to be them. Because when someone does a bad thing to you, you need it to be them. Because they did the bad thing. They did the outwardly bad thing. They did the thing that was not very nice, But it's the people. Like, if you don't look at yourself and what you contributed to the situation, then I feel like you won't grow, and you're going to meet the next person you're with is going to also, it's going to be another bad relationship, a bad situation again, because you didn't review what happened there and see where your shortcomings were. You know what I mean? Like, where did you fall short somewhere? He fell short somewhere, and then maybe he picked up on that. I don't know, but if you don't look at that, your behavior with that last relationship, then you're not going to be able to have the next relationship is going to be similar or maybe worse because you never could prepare for the last one. So what I decided to do, if I can give you this a little bit of advice, is that I looked at myself. And we talk about this literally constantly. But I looked at myself to see my behaviors in the last relationship. And that way I don't have any bitterness or anger, because when you don't look at yourself, you're going to harbor a lot of stuff. So I don't want that. I like to have like a free spirit feeling where I feel zen and fine, But I looked at what I did wrong in a relationship, or what I did wrong, my behaviors in general with men. You know what I mean?
It's like,
and that helped me with the next people.
I mean, I would say my last relationship was your relationship in reverse. I was your boyfriend. I thought, you know what I mean? Like, I thought when I was in my last relationship, the whole thing that was going through my mind in those months that we were all together, when we were together, me and him, I knew he was okay with being with me the way things were.
Yeah,
I was not okay.
Right.
And so sometimes it's hard to be the person to then say, I want to go. This isn't enough.
Yeah.
And that may have been how he felt about you. You're willing to be like my ex-boyfriend, just stay in it.
Yeah.
Because I want to be married. You know what I mean? And you know what I'm saying? And he's me, just like me, saying no. Yeah. Because this isn't, not only is it not good for me to be in this relationship, I'm not good enough for you. Because you need somebody else, you just don't think so.
Right.
And so I have to leave this relationship for us to both be happy. It may hurt for a minute because somebody's ego's got to get bruised for it to end.
Yeah.
Either he breaks up with me or I'm going to break up with him. But the truth is that sometimes when I was in that relationship, what I saw was me and him in a relationship that I knew, regardless of he knew, I knew I was not happy. You know what I'm saying?
And if I was honest with myself in my relationship, I was not happy. What's really interesting is that I remember this time with this relationship I'm talking about, where I knew logically knew that this was not the one for me, but I kept it going. Like, I was not willing to say that yet, right? I didn't want to lose the situation. But there's this time when we were talking on the phone, him and I were talking on the phone, and it was like silence. It was like this moment of just like, we just weren't not even communication. It almost felt like we didn't have anything in common. Like it was a really weird switch, you know, and I was like, wow, this is weird, right? So most people would be, well, I would think some people would be like, huh, I mean, we should talk about this. Yeah. But I didn't. I didn't talk about it. So I'm trying to tell you. And he said, but I didn't talk about it. So I just kind of let that be, let that go. And then every conversation got a little bit more quiet, a little bit more quiet. You know what I mean? And then boom, over. You know, so there was something already. It was already kind of.
I don't believe
weird.
that you didn't know.
I don't believe that either.
I think I think what happened was you were shocked.
Yeah.
That he had the guts to break it off.
Yeah.
The way that I choose men in my life now is from the inside out.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to make it short.
You know
I mean, like you have to. I get that you have to have some compatibility with people, but there really is kind of that natural intuition that you have. You know what I mean? That you know something's right or wrong. And I really feel like if you really, once you get out your feelings on this, if you really sit back and think about your relationship, you're gonna see. Mm-hmm. Man, that was a weird moment.
Because what if he just cheated on
strange.
you?
Yeah, then
because
what?
if he wasn't that happy with you,
he would have cheated.
But then he just went ahead and cheated on you because he didn't want to leave you.
Mm-hmm.
Then he'd be an asshole for staying in a relationship and just cheating on his girlfriend.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So it's better that he just walks away.
Yeah, people always think that breakups are horrible. This is funny because the feeling of breakups are bad.
Really make room for someone else.
Right, but when breakups happen, it's because that wasn't supposed to be. At least, and I know people get back together and that sometimes works out, very rarely, but sometimes it does work out. People get back together, but that person it'll be a complete change. Mm-hmm. You know, the whole relationship will be completely different. But in more normal circumstances, when people break up, it's usually just over. I don't get when people get back with each other. I don't have that in me, built in me, to keep breaking up and getting back together, breaking up and getting back together. Don't start that circle. Don't start that crazy Twilight Zone circle of breaking up and getting back, and then he comes back and says, "Oh, you know, I'm changed," which is what happened to me. I'm a changed man. I'm changed, and I'm thinking, well, you might be, mm-hmm. But the problem is that my dynamic with you might be changed, but my dynamic with you is now different based on mm-hmm. blank. I've changed too.
Yeah.
So I've changed too. So the new me is realize that the old me was not up to par. So now I can't be with you. So, you know, so I don't know. But can you find happiness in settling? So you're saying basically that at this point you feel like you have to settle at the age of 35. Now, so maybe, I mean, I don't know. I don't think, you know, it makes me think of...
There's no such thing like soulmates.
Yeah.
Like, I think we go into this thing where we think that there's this one person out there that's going to... You know, well, there are going to be many people who find you attractive and want to be with you. You can have chemistry with 50 people. You really can. You know what I mean? So the thing is like, marriage is love is an action. It's not a feeling.
Right.
It really isn't. You can be with someone for 10 years and he will do things to you that you just are not in a loving spirit.
Yeah.
But love is an action. You do it because you love him. Mm-hmm. You do it anyway. You know what I mean? You treat him with respect anyway, even if he kind of annoyed you for a second. And so people kind of live on this like wave of, if I find this right person, they're gonna check all the boxes off with me, and I'll never have these like dull moments. And then in that place, you put marriage on a pedestal that is unattainable because you have no room for error at all. There's like no room for error. You think that someone's gonna come into your life and make everything make everything better, or make everything look more shinier and pretty. And the truth is no, they're human. You're human. You're not perfect. They're not perfect. But the fact that even if you guys have arguments and you have disagreements, the fact that you still want to go the same way and you guys treat each other with respect and honesty anyway, that's love. Yeah. Love is an umbrella of many things. It's not just this feeling that you just have and you're going to just be floating away on a magic carpet with each other. It's just not, because once you have kids and once you have to pay a mortgage and once life starts to happen within that union, you'll be at each other.
Something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen. The only way you can sustain a marriage for a long time is if both of you are in it for something bigger than the both of you.
You know what's funny is that I had this conversation after the breakup with my ex. We actually had this conversation because he was trying to come back, and I didn't want that anymore. And I came to that conclusion, and I said this to him. I was like, you know, the truth is that you don't really. I'm not really for you. I told him, I said we don't have enough to sustain us as a couple anyways. It wasn't strong enough. We weren't solid, and that's what we were missing. So we're not for each other. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Take what you can from this, but don't lose faith and hope just because you're 35. Please do not try to beat the social time clock. All right? And be proactive and date and do all that. I'm just saying, don't lose your mind. Because women lose their mind and end up with horrible relationships just because they don't want to be 36 and single. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. You tell us what you think.
I'm 45 and single. I'm quite happy.
I'm a very happy person.
I'm just saying, like, I would love to be in a relationship, but not any means necessary. Yeah. I'm sorry. I think when you have a life of your own, when you're really happy, you know, you don't need something to disturb that happiness just so you can call yourself socially acceptable.
Well, yep, that's it, you guys. Tell us what you think. Leave some comments below. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We would greatly appreciate that. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.